Rise up, we gon' make it happen, just tellin' that time's up. Breaking chains, make a chain while running them bands up. Suit and tie, skew the vibe, depositing grands up. Educating on the millions, come on, let's make a million. We in business by building, that's how we gon' raise the ceiling. Living legends, what we building.
Really quickly, we are going to present what is called the state of black wealth. Now, we did intend for this panel discussion to go for about 30 minutes, but because time is drawing nigh, we are going to go ahead and just allow our panelists to have a really brief conversation, and then we are going to continue that conversation online so that everyone will be able to experience it at a later time. The State of Black Wealth panel discussion is very rich, but we want to make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to at least share something that is on their hearts and regards, and then we are going to move on with the awardees for our event today, and finishing up with our keynote speaker, Miss Sharice. You don't want to miss Miss Sharice. So at this time, I'm going to turn the panel discussion over to our brother Rashawn. Let him introduce our panelists, and we're going to go from there. Clap your hands, guys.
Well, here's the challenge. We're about to know how much you know and how fast you can get it out. We want to take a moment, though. I want to allow them the opportunity to pass the mic from that end all the way down. If you'll introduce yourself and tell us what brings you here today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, young men and young women. So happy to be here with you. My name is Tamar Hamilton, and I am your estate planning attorney. And we don't talk wealth without talking estate planning, talking about trust. So look forward to sharing a little bit more with you about our trust and how it is important towards when you're planning your wealth portfolio.
My name is Giovanni Cyrus, and I'm here to share and inspire by utilizing my story. We can't build wealth unless we give out wealth, and that wealth can be in different forms. Mine is adding value to each person's life.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is LaShondra Johnson, and I am your favorite public speaking coach. We're talking a lot today about building wealth, communicating, storytelling. However, knowing how to properly articulate and communicate your story, whether it be facial expressions, body language, and so on and so forth, is just as important, because how you going to get to the money if you can't talk about it? All right.
Excellent. My name is Joseph Madelon. I own Madelon Law. I'm a personal injury attorney, and I would tell you that 99% of my clients, the richest they'll ever be in their life is the day they leave my office. I dramatically change futures, and the hardest part, in the part that I want to pour into you guys, is when they leave my office with that check and their bank account is at a level that it never would have been and never could have got to. My only focus with them in that moment is to make sure that is the poorest day of the rest of their life. And that's all about planting the seeds.
Terrific. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Evans. I am a certified government contractor, project manager, and I teach people how to make their mark before someone else does.
All right. Can we clap our hands for our panelists? All right, so I'm not a liar, and I told them I'd get y'all away in 5 minutes, so y'all got to help me stay truthful. But I want to give you a two-part question, and I want each of you to express this based on your expertise and how this serves our generation. Number one, what would you say is a misconception about generational wealth? And how can individuals who have been given a disadvantaged background begin to start generational wealth?
Wow. Okay. So let's start with the
Misconception.
The misconception. The misconception is that if you pray about it, it's just going to happen. So pray without action is, you got to put the action in with the prayer. So that's the biggest consumption that we have as even become brought up as kids, despite what your religion is, that if you pray, good things are going to happen. But if you don't pray and put the action into it, it's never going to, move forward. So that's one thing. And another thing I would add onto it is that your circle, the people that you hang around. You look around like you guys have heard this 1,000 times. If you look around and everybody up here is winning and I'm broke, eventually I'm going to be winning. But if you hanging around four broke people, guess what? You're going to be the next broke person too. So so think about the people that's around you. You know, pivot, make the change, and move forward. And what was your second question?
So with the no, I need you to do something else for me. Your assignment just changed. I need you to talk to that person that is stuck at prayer. They're saying, this is all I know. My grandma used this. My daddy used this. My mama used this. What do you say the person that God is saying, this time it's not on the back of prayer that I'm doing it?
I'm going to tell you, get off your knees and start using your 2 feet. Use your mind and shift. It is time to get going. It starts with the mindset. When we have been told so many things over and over, our mind, we believe what we have been accustomed to, right? So my first thing I would tell you to do is get up off your knees and start walking. Don't try to look and try to figure out what the journey is going to be. You're going to have failure. You're going to have ups and downs, but put action behind it. Go, push through it, shift with it, cry through it, fight through it, whatever you need to do. But pray and take action. That's all you have to do. Because sometimes we could get there and say, oh, we're just waiting on prayer to come help, and God going to come. He never come. But the thing is, he said, all I told you to do was pray. Get up and move. I'll take care of the rest.
Come on, can we clap it up for that? Look at your neighbor and say, God don't order your feet. Tell him he order your steps.
You order your steps.
So I want you to speak to a misconception that you've seen. I know you've worked with a lot of people, and like you said, they come in with a disadvantaged background, but when I'm almost want somebody to hit me today. They God, I'm just playing. Woo! Jesus. But they come in and they meet you and their life changes. How do you get those people to think different about that opportunity?
That's a fantastic question. I'll tell you a brief story. Last year at this event, there was a gentleman, a young guy. He had a $16,000 offer from Allstate on an automobile accident with an attorney who was sort of stuck. And so he and his attorney said, hey, can you take this case for us? Within 5 months, I closed his case out for right at $400,000. Wow. He went from $16,000 before attorney's fees and costs to $400,000. So let's talk about mindset, right? Want to talk about that? Everything in your life is based on your internal thermostat. You're set at 72 degrees. So if the sun hits the window and it goes up to 75, the AC is kicking on. If it's cold out at night and it drops down to 69, the heat is kicking on and bumping you back up to 72. So until the internal thermostat changes, your weight will yo-yo. Your bank account will stay the same. I can give you examples of people whose thermostats were set exceptionally high. And you just think about this, right? Let's talk about Elon Musk for a second. Exits PayPal with $185 million, starts Tesla and SpaceX, goes to his last rocket, has $0 left. He's completely bankrupt. Tesla had returned every car he initially shipped. He had nothing. The third rocket for SpaceX is a successful launch after 2 failures. He goes to 0 to one of the richest men in the world. Super rich, 0, richest men in the world. Where do you think his thermostat is set? Right? Let's talk about George Foreman. Completely bankrupt after his last fight at 45. Multi-millionaire. Where do you think George Foreman was? He was super high, came down low, and bounced right back. Martha Stewart, the same story. Now, I can tell you stories about a ton of people who made, on their exits of their companies, made hundreds of millions of dollars and lost it all within a few years. We can talk about lottery winners who go from 0 to the moon, and they're completely broke within 3 or 4 years, right? So what I would encourage you guys today is to learn how to shift your internal thermostat. And hopefully we on the panel can give you guys some really basic techniques. But until that happens, your weight will go down, it'll go right back. Your money will go up, it'll come right back down. There's no way to build unless the person building becomes the new person who can live in that new house.
Clap it up, y'all. Woo! I just felt the temperature change. All right. All right, this one's for you. I want you to speak to African American women. I think there's a misconception that there's no wealth in the world for them, and there's always a battle, especially even in corporate America. There's a sense of battle. So what do you say to the young lady that's saying, hey, I'm trying, I've got my degrees, I've got my education. How do I really break through the ceiling to ensure that my disadvantage does not become my destiny?
I'm about to get in y'all business a little bit. Can I get in y'all business? Okay. Now, if we're going to talk about being a black woman, there are several things to talk about. We know studies are already showing that black women are top earners. We're getting all the degrees. We got the whole alphabet. We got the BSW, the MSW, the MBA, the TSA. We have all the letters. Okay, we have the letters. This is great. Now, here's the issue, right, that comes into place for a lot of us. One, as black women, you know, I'm going to get in y'all business just a little bit. Who you choose to partner with romantically is very important. Because when you talk about generational wealth, you're also talking about who you're going to create generations with, right? Now, that means that when we're dating, the pookies are unqualified. That means that when we're dating and who we decide to marry, who we decide to date, who we decide to procreate with, because it's a choice, right? Who we decide to do all of these things with, we have to have an understanding that that's who we're building generations with. So we have to look at his mindset. We have to look at who we're attaching ourselves and our femininity to. Because as women, we in having the wombs, that means we give birth. That means we have fertility. That means that who we assign ourselves with, who we align ourselves with, we will give birth to great things, right? So if you already have that mentality and you're flourishing within yourself, it's important that who you connect with, and that's on a friendship level, but also romantically, is also in alignment with that assignment, okay? The second thing that we have to make sure that we are doing as creators and creative geniuses that we just are as beautiful black women, is also really ensuring that the knowledge is transferable, because a lot of times what I see when I work with youth, when I work with so many people, I'm a product of generational wealth. I inherited my home, right, from my grandparents. Now, here's the issue for people who might, you want to leave stuff to people, and that's great, that's beautiful. Yes, we want to leave all the things. We're not educating the generations coming behind us on how to take it and elevate it, right? So when I got the home, I knew this much about home ownership. I had to go at a very rapid pace to figure things out because I was scared I was going to lose the home, right? How do I take this home and now make it worth even more? There's so much assets when your house is paid off. Okay, the house is paid off. There's so much I can do with this home, and I'm having to learn on the backside. So when we're talking about creating generational wealth as people, as women, my grandparents did a great job. They partnered together. They chose the right people. They laid the foundation and the bricks so that I would not have to work as hard when it comes to going through a homeowning process, and the house is paid off. That's beautiful. But making sure that my children, right, and my grandchildren, they understand and have the knowledge and the foresight to know what to do with it and take it to even a further level than what I'm going to take it to. So making sure we're passing that language down. And once again, as black women, we are doing so many amazing, great things. We're such talented, creative beings, and I want us to embrace that and bask in that, and also understand that there's still power in the authority that we have, but there's also so much power in our femininity and how we rock that. Ooh, ladies, ain't nothing better than doing good and looking good at the same time. So just being able to bask in those things and passing that knowledge and those nuggets on to so many other young girls who are coming up after us. I've talked to them, and some of them are doing amazing things, but there's so much knowledge they're not getting from their mothers or grandmothers that we're not giving them as older women, that we need to be passing on and having certain conversations with them about, and that's on point blank and the period.
Clap it up, y'all. I want to ask you this. I heard a little bit about your story earlier, and I think a lot of people are in financial dilemmas because of bad decisions, bad money decisions. I want you to speak to how a bad decision does not mean a destination. Because I feel like a lot of people have reached a bad place and they feel like this is it. You know, I might as well just throw my life away. But for the type of people you help and for the type of work you do, how do you bounce back from a bad decision?
Solve a problem. Solve a problem. There's so much money in solving problems, right? So let me talk about a bad economic decision, right? So we know about the black community and how it lacks resources, right? Right? So some folks don't believe it, but it was done by design, right? So I come from one of those communities in Miami, and because my community lacked resources, and not just financial resources, but also intellectual resources. There was no mentors to guide me on my journey becoming an adult. So of course, I'm gonna make the wrong decisions. I idolized those folks who were selling drugs in my community. They had everything that we wanted and everything that we dreamed of. So of course, at a young age, at the age of 21, I made a bad decision. But it landed me in prison where I learned 99% of my education is I got it in prison, right? 99%. School, the public school system didn't teach me anything about me and my people, right? And that's where my personal empowerment lies, first of all. But let me tell you how to turn a mistake into wealth. So while I was incarcerated, I was a transition facilitator. That means I help people who are on their way to being released from prison. And I oftentimes seeing guys coming right back into prison, sometimes within the same years, like they went on a vacation and came back to prison. So I would ask them what the reason for that was, and they would start sharing with me the barriers and obstacles that they had to face in order to acclimate back into society. And so I was like, interesting. So I started making mental note of all the things that they had to overcome, and most of them failed, and that's why they were back in the prison. So I wrote all those things down, and I said, well, I want to be able to solve these problems being someone that's about to be released soon as well. So what I did, I saw all of the gaps, the service gaps that existed within the field of reentry through which I operate. And then so I said, well, I'm not just going to empower myself economically with this, but I'm going to empower my community as well, right? Because it takes a community to raise a child. And when you get folks that are released from jail or prison, they come back in the community. They're like little children, right? They're coming into a whole new environment, right? So it takes the community to actually help us to acclimate. And because of the stigma surrounding people that's coming from incarceration, our communities don't accept us sometimes. And I had that problem as well. So what I did, I said, I got to solve that problem. Well, guess what? There was a monetary value attached to that solution, right? And so I tell people, thank you, and I tell people all the time, you want to be wealthy, you want to be rich, become a solutionist, right? Come up with solutions. The person who came up with the idea of bottling up water, right? 30, 40 years ago, you heard that laugh, right? Somebody, if they would have said it 40 years ago, somebody would have laughed at them, right? Like, you're going to sell water and fall out the sky. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but look, it's a billion-dollar industry, right? So you solve problems, toilet paper, all of the things that we need every single day. These are the necessities, and they're billion-dollar industries. So what I said was, let me create solutions to the problems that we face in our communities. So I started a nonprofit. And I said, okay, let me help folks acclimate back into society. And then nonprofits, the purpose of nonprofits is really to help our communities, right? People don't know that. You're supposed to help your community with the nonprofit. But I want to empower myself too economically. So what I did was I started an LLC, a consulting company. And I got out, and this is a true story. I got out and I said, well, I want to start teaching the prison folks, the private prison companies, how to actually do the work, right? Because they don't know. They don't have the lived experience that I had. So I got out and I had to learn how to use the phone, the laptop. I never owned this stuff before I got incarcerated. So I created a lanyard, right? And I put on there that I was a prison consultant. Nobody had ever heard of that before. And then I created like these bullet points on the bottom, and it says, over 17 years of experience. Yeah. Yes, thank you. And that 17 years of experience came from the time that I served. And I told myself, I say, if these people going to make me do this time, I'm going to be a thorn in their side, right? And I'm going to empower myself and every young brother that let me get into his ear. Because I tell people all the time, boy, if you listen to me, I'm going to get you. right? Because I'm going to empower you, right? And then we're going to work together because that's the key, right? That's the African way. So let me finish the story. So when I put 17 years of experience, I say, man, how am I going to get to where I need to be? So I actually said, well, I need to go to the state house. I need to convince the legislators that they don't know what they're doing. They've been doing it for over 40 years. They've been getting it wrong. And I'm the only person in that room that's qualified to talk about prison reform and social justice reform because I have the lived experience. We got a bunch of people in there with degrees that don't know what they're doing. I got 0 degrees, right? But I'm coming in there as an expert, right? And so now I got some real reparation stories for y'all, right? So one of the private prisons that it's actually the largest private prison in the world. They got prisons all over the world, right? Billion-dollar company. So I'm actually a consultant with them. I served 10 years at one of their facilities, right? And I created a lot of amazing programs for them while I was incarcerated for free. But I had the idea, when I get out, I'm going to make these people pay me. So now, right, I came to them as a prison consultant, right? And they said, well, what is that? I said, I'm going to tell you how to help people that's coming out of your jails and prison, and it's going to make you look good, right? But we're going to also get what we need as well, right? So now they pay me. They fly me around the country, pay me really good money. I ain't going to lie, right? Pay me really good money. And I got more authority, right, than some of the prison officials that used to tell me when to eat, when to sleep, when to take a shower, right? And I go back into all of those prisons. I go back in all of those prisons where I served my time, and I get paid to do it as a consultant. So I got a contract with these private prison operators as a nonprofit, and I got a contract with them as a consultant, getting paid thousands of dollars a month to do the work. Now that's some real reparations for you right there.
Come on, y'all.
So if you want to build wealth, solve a problem. Ain't nothing but problems in our communities. Find one, focus on it, and monetize it.
Come on. From the prison to the palace. All right, I wanna ask this. Y'all done got me in trouble. People looking at me weird because I went over 5 minutes. But y'all, this has been really good. If you want this, it's gonna be virtual. But we're gonna let her close us out. And what better way to close us out than with our estate? I think it's so important because people don't like to talk about estate because they don't want to think about a casket. Why should people start now?
Now, let's dismiss that misconception. When you say estate from today on, you should think wealth. Estate equals wealth. A big misconception that we need to dismiss is that mama didn't have it, papa didn't have it, that's why I'm struggling. Now, we are the generation of wealth builders. We do not need to follow what we saw. What we need to do is look within our generation. Where is the wealth? How can we protect that and preserve that for us and the generation coming after us? Talk about looking for a problem and solving it. You don't even have to look far to find that problem. It's within our own homes. Within each of us lies a treasure. What is that treasure? Your ability to change your generation. Your ability to preserve what existed for years and years that no one has claimed, no one has ever researched. How do I protect that home? How do I protect that land? How do I protect that bank account? How do I preserve that so I'm benefiting and those that follow me will benefit? So it's time that we shift our mindset, look right within our surroundings. What do I have that needs to be protected? What am I entitled to? I need to go and say, okay, mama, what's going to happen to this home? What's going to happen to the land? What's going to happen to this pension fund? How are we protecting that? How have we made it clear how this is to be passed on from generation to generation? How do we build an estate, and how are we going to protect it so that the government can't touch it? So that we don't have to pay large sums of money in taxes. What is a trust? How can we gather what we have and secure it? We are that generation who has had the privilege to hear this type of information, to experience technology the way we're experiencing it. Not one of us sitting in this room should experience any kind of failure or poverty. And if we are, it's time to rise up and change that situation. And that change begins with one person, and that's you, that's me. Leaving the summit today, we should all leave with a mindset of, I'm about to shift my generation. I'm about to bring transformation. I'm about to protect assets. I'm about to find solutions and bring about a change that no one in my generation has ever done. That's you, that's me. Let's be that change. Rise up and let's claim the wealth that exists right here in our homes, in our generations. Thank you.
Clap it up for this panel. All right, look at your neighbor and say, to be continued. Check your email. Clap it up for the panel. Thank y'all so much. We'll continue this conversation online.
Rise up, oh yeah, yeah.